Thank you, Juliana. That is all very helpful. And moving forward, we've got Sandy up next. Sandy, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, please, for Julieanna Hever.
How are you?
Hey.
Quick. Oh, did I unmute myself? I don't even know.
Yep, we can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I just have a quick question about coffee and caffeine and migraines, please. I drink 2 K-cups of coffee every morning before work, and I experience a daily debilitating migraine. I mean, it's life-ruining. I can't even function throughout the whole day, and I've tried to wean off caffeine, wean off the coffee, drink less, and I just get so tired, and the headache it's like the same type of headache. It's just it's not happening because it's not working out. So my question is, well, you think black tea would be healthier to try to maybe wean off of the coffee? Because I know coffee has other alkaloids in it that are not healthy. Maybe black tea is healthier.
Well, I would encourage you to see your doctor to rule out any medical things going on, because migraines shouldn't be happening. If it's the coffee that's causing them, then I would encourage you to get off the coffee. Sometimes you just go cold tofu and you just suck it up for a few days. It's miserable. I mean, I had to do it when I was pregnant, and it was the worst. It was so bad, but then I was done with it. It's like it goes a few days and then you're better. But it's not bad for you. Generally speaking, coffee is not bad for you. There's evidence, unless you specifically, individually, it could be. You'd have to answer that you'd have to get off and see if that helps. I would also wonder what your diet looks like. I'd also wondering what your fitness looks like and your whole routine looks like. Obviously, I can't diagnose you like this, but I would say, generally speaking, coffee is totally fine for most people, unless you're sensitive. And some people are definitely sensitive. Scientifically speaking, coffee and tea are both very healthy. It's what you put in the coffee or tea that can be risky, but some people are super sensitive. So if you've already ruled out any medical reasons, and you've already ruled out, you're already eating a nice, whole food plant-based diet, you're taking your notable nutrients, you're making sure you got your B12 going on and your whatever, all the other nutrients that are notable, then I would try cutting out the coffee and see. And yeah, why not try tea? Tea is healthy too. They're both healthy. Can be, but if you're sensitive, don't do it. It's miserable to get off of it. I've gone through that a couple times, but you get over it. It takes a few days, and it's like a withdrawal. But some people, actually, caffeine is a treatment for migraines for a lot of people. So I don't know what's going on specifically for you, but I would definitely investigate that further. And I hope you can get over that, because I feel bad for you. It's awful. Migraines are horrible. So I'm sorry.
Great advice, Juliana. Love the cold tofu reference. And up next, we have Joy. Joy, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very informative. My question kind of pertains to having to go from, so I spent about 3 years on a plant-based vegan diet, and I felt okay. However, during that time, my blood sugar ended up getting really high, and it kind of propelled me into this pre-diabetic stage. And like you said, with modern medicine, the first suggestion is limit your carbs, limit your carbs, limit your carbs. And so with doing that, I thought, well, that means my beans go away, with my chickpeas, my lentils, my potatoes. I kind of limited those things to try to, quote unquote, fix the blood sugar problem. And because I had to take away all of those things, I incorporated fish and eggs back into my diet. I still don't do dairy because I get extremely ill from dairy, but I did do fish and eggs. But I'm still having an issue with blood sugar. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there, like you said before, there's no perfect diet, but it's just like, I felt like plant-based betrayed me a little bit because it made my blood sugar go really high. Now that I incorporate eggs and seafood, my blood sugar is a little bit more managed, but it's still not perfect where they want it to be. So I guess my question really is can plant-based sometimes do that depending on the person?
I have yet to see it. I would love to see, I always want to see a food journal because that to me is how I identify what might be going on. I would like to see your food journal prior to see what happened. What is the most potential cause of high blood sugar or increasing blood sugar would be saturated fat. So I don't know if you were incorporating coconut oil, if you were still consuming oils, or too many nuts and seeds, because I've actually seen high doses of nuts and seeds, like a lot of nuts and seeds, more than 1 to 2 ounces a day, cause people to have mostly with cholesterol. I haven't seen it with blood sugars yet. I would have to see your food journal because I've yet to see that happen on a diet of whole plant foods, and unless you're doing a lot of like maybe, and I would more blame the saturated fat than I would go. The next thing I would say is anything sugary or white floury. But I would have to see your food journal because I haven't seen that unless there's an explanation. And so I would recommend just studying as much as you can about how to optimize that way of eating and try it again, you know, or see someone that does what I do, like to work with someone that actually can analyze it and know exactly what's going on. But it's hard, I can't guess because I'd have to see exactly your food journal. That's whenever I take on a client, I have them submit at least a week or 2 of food journal and symptoms. So I could watch your blood sugars and see what you're responding to. I would love to know your medical history. I'd love to know your labs. I'd love to know all of that stuff before I could actually give you some suggestions. But no, generally speaking, that's not what the literature supports, and I haven't seen it. So I'm sorry you went through that. I'm so curious. I'm so curious to know what happened.
Thanks, Julieanna. Up next, we have Ginger. Ginger, if you'd go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi. I have a question about vitamin B12, the source of it. I've just read about a source of it which sounds virtually all plant-based, except possibly algae. Is algae somewhere in between plant and animal? And why do I, for example, when I was convinced to become vegetarian and then vegan, nobody mentioned vitamin B. So I went through at least a decade of not eating and not taking extra vitamin B12. So why do I haven't heard it mentioned a lot during this conference? So can you get into more detail on that, the sources of it? Can the sources be entirely vegetative?
Yes, thank you for asking this very, very, very important question. B12 is such an important topic. And again, if you go to my website, plantbaseddietitian.com, I have articles, it's in all my books and all of my medical, all of my papers, everything I've ever written, highly recommend taking B12. Half of vegans are deficient, and a lot of people don't even know why. I always say it's the most finicky vitamin with an attitude problem, because basically B12 is made in the soil by microorganisms, and then the microorganisms, then the animals eat it and it's part of the rumen, and they end up, we get it from animal products. However, everyone that's on a plant-based diet, everyone that, or most people that have any kind of gastrointestinal issues, so like absorption issues, anyone over the 50, as stated by the Institute of Medicine, needs to supplement with vitamin B12, okay? Because the intrinsic factor that we need to it starts minimizing as we age, and if you're on a plant-based diet, you're not getting a direct source. Now you could be getting some fortified products. However, it's so dangerous because if you go, it could be like 5 or even up to, I've seen documentation of up to 10 years where your B12 will appear normal in your labs, but that's just because of the way it works and you're not testing MMA, the right markers. I have all this information in my website and my books. Please look at this. And make sure you're supplementing if you're on a plant-based diet. You're not getting adequate source of it if you're just eating whole plant foods. It needs to be supplemented. So don't get it from algae, because microalgae, or you're probably thinking of spirulina, and spirulina actually can act as a B12 analog. So it can block the B12 receptors, and then active B12 does not get absorbed. So it's a really important issue for vegans and anyone over 50 and anyone that has any kind of GI issues. So the best source is cyanocobalamin. The best way to ameliorate the potential for the problems associated with B12 deficiency is just to supplement. It's cheap, effective, safe. You can't overdose because it's a water-soluble nutrient. Don't try this at home, but like the evidence shows that there's no upper limit to B12 because it's a water-soluble nutrient. You will excrete the excess, but it's so important, and you can get it. The best form is cyanocobalamin, widely available. You can find this anywhere. The problem is most people don't find out about it until they have potentially irreversible neurological damage. So it's so not worth it. So go and get a supplement, and there's 3 ways to dose it. This is why, again, it's such a finicky vitamin because of the intrinsic factor. How it's absorbed is kind of strange. So there's 3 different dosing options, depending on how many times a day you like to take pills. You could do it 50 micrograms twice a day, 150 micrograms once a day, or just take one 2,500 microgram dose once a week. And I cannot state or overemphasize the importance of this for anyone on a plant-based diet. No diet is perfect. Most people on a standard Western diet, they're not getting fiber or vitamin C or folate. So there's always something to be considered. And it drives me kind of, it gets me upset when people go, oh, well, you have to take B12. So vegan diet's not perfect. Well, again, no diet is perfect. And B12 is one very important, notable nutrient when you're eating a plant-based diet.